Well, thank you very much for joining me in this video. You know, an interesting occurrence came up with one of our agents recently. It's the sort of thing, it's sad, it's the sort of thing you wouldn't want to have happen, but it may happen, and I think it's important enough to share so you understand what the implications are. The agent was called upon to list a home, single-family home. An elderly lady owned it, and she felt she needed to get away from the yard work and so on, and she wanted to buy a condominium. So through the process, listed, sold her house, bought a condominium, and the people who owned the condominium were buying a new build. It wasn't completed, so they needed a long closing. So the closing was about 4 months off. So the house is sold, the condo is sold, everybody's happy. A little over 3 months into the process, the woman dropped dead. So the question was, is the agreement of purchase and sale binding on the estate? If you think back to when you took your real estate course, you remember listings. It said that if a listing, if the person who was listing the property became insane, went bankrupt, or died, it terminated the listing. But that's not the case with the agreement of purchase and sale. The details of the agreement of purchase and sale are binding on the estate. Now, further complicated in this deal was the executor for the estate decided that she didn't want the deal to go through. She wanted to own the house herself. So she went to her lawyer and she said, "I'd like you to get me out of this deal." He recognized it as binding on the estate, but he said, "I'll look into it and see if I can get you out of the deal." And that brings up another point, how important it is that we as realtors get our details right when we put together an agreement of purchase and sale. Make sure our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed. If you've got a buyer and a seller, and right up till closing, the buyer wants to buy and the seller wants to sell, you can write it on hand towels and be full of mistakes, and the chances are it will close. But if something challenges that process, you want to make sure that it isn't overturned because of a technicality that you created. So it's very, very important to make sure you get it right. Well, in this case, they went through it and they couldn't find anything of a technical nature that would kill the deal. And so the house was sold to the buyers, and they were moving in from out of town and they had no place else to go. It was very important that sale take place. Also, the estate purchased the condo. That was necessary too because the condo had entered into a firm agreement, purchase and sale, to buy the new build. So everybody went through and fulfilled the promise that they'd made in the agreement of purchase and sale, but it wasn't the original buyer, it was the estate of the original buyer. So I think you need to, hopefully that'll never happen to you. And you know what? It isn't really that burdensome on the estate. They had a house to sell originally. If the one member of the family hadn't wanted it, they would have needed to put it up for sale. So instead of putting that up for sale, they'll put the condominium up for sale. But it is binding on the estate, and you need to keep that in mind if ever this sort of thing happens to you. Thank you very much for joining me in this video. Talk to you again next week.